Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Matt Lateplo, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from ReShape Lifesciences, a global weight loss and metabolic health solutions company. Please note you can submit questions in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Scheduled Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Paul Hickey, President and CEO, and Tom Stankovich, Chief Financial Officer of ReShape Lifesciences Inc., which trades on NASDAQ under the symbol RSLS. Welcome, Paul and Tom.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you everyone for joining us this morning. I'm going to spend some time talking about ReShape, the market we serve, and our strategies to drive growth for us. And before I start, I'd like you to take a look at Fiona. Fiona and I, when we chatted several months ago, she shared her story with me. Fiona received a ReShape product, our lap band, over 4 years ago. And she did so because she felt like many of the millions of Americans, not just Americans, but people worldwide that suffer from obesity, which is the primary market we serve. She hit rock bottom. Her rock bottom, probably similar to many like her, was that she just couldn't get off the couch, had to do something, and she sought attention and help from her friends, family, and ultimately a medical professional who performed the lap band surgery. Fiona now is doing amazing. She actually is a masters swim champion. I don't know that she swam before the lap band, and I'm not saying that lap band will allow people to become masters champion swimmers, but her story is one of many that we have with our products and our team that are committed to a mission to help those who are fighting obesity. This next slide, I'll pause a little bit. As we all know, safe harbor statement, risk factors, this presentation does contain forward-looking statements. My leadership team I'm showing on this slide, I don't talk a lot about experience with my team because at some point in time in your life you have experience. That's not important to me. It's important that you have leadership. And leadership means that you can lead people, you can drive them through adversity, you can adapt to change. And since I came on board with ReShape just under a year ago, we've gone through a lot of changes, and I've got a very capable team to lead this organization to our future. Part of what I mentioned earlier is that we serve primarily the obesity market, and it really doesn't take much to hear something on the news related to the GLP-1 agonists, injectable weight loss medications, Wegovy and Ozempic, and other medications and therapies that'll be coming. It's on the news because this market is a problem. It's a market that is worldwide. It affects every country, every nation, and primarily because obesity has been normalized in our society. It's the only disease, it's classified as a disease, but it's the only disease you can walk down the street and knowingly have, and not seek medical professional help, unlike cancers or anything else you may have. And that's the problem that health professionals and companies like ReShape are working to address. There's a continuum of care as you look at normal body weight through the most obese or morbidly obese individuals that ReShape has in our portfolio to help serve. And the biggest change outside of the injectables is that the physicians that we provide products to, the bariatric surgeons around the world who belong to the ASMBS and IFSA, which is the American and International Societies for those specialties, are now recommending more aggressive surgeries for those with obesity, and not just those with morbid obesity, but those younger in age and those with more overweight to obese states of health. So primarily, I'll talk about 3 growth pillars to this presentation. The first one is for us to be disciplined in how we run our business. If you've followed ReShape over the years, you'll see that there's much improvement that that we can take on as a leadership team in terms of making sure that how we run our business is metrics driven. That we're disciplined in our approach, we invest in growth drivers, and we make sure there's a return on investment to ultimately drive shareholder value. We're spending a lot of time focused on this one pillar. Secondly, our efforts involve expanding our product portfolio. One of the delights that I had coming on board to the company is opening up the curtain of our R&D team and seeing some products that we have coming down the pipeline, which I'll talk about in a moment. But it's important for us on an ongoing basis to have a cadence to new product introductions, and we can do that with internal core competencies as well as strategic partnerships. And the third pillar is really to validate our portfolio with clinical evidence. This last pillar gets a little bit of smiles from the leadership members of the ASMBS and IFSO when I mentioned to them that I'm working to ensure that our portfolio has solid clinical evidence so that physicians can define a care plan for their obese patients and make sure that they're backed by compelling data. We recently announced that we formed a scientific advisory board made up some of the best physicians that I could think of pulling together to help us and guide us through our decisions and execute our strategies going forward. Our first meeting with that advisory board is actually this Sunday, and I'm looking forward to their contributions at the meeting and the actions that we'll take as a result of those discussions. So our products that we have today in the markets are shown here. On the left-hand side is the ReShape Care and ReShape Marketplace. ReShape Care is a telemedicine program that involves live coaching with certified healthcare coaches. And I'll explain how this ties to our overall care continuum. But the ReShape Care portfolio has obtained a high level of attention from self-insured employers. And the reason being is that the self-insured employers are understanding that those who are obese, those that are making it, now through COVID and having to deal with other issues in terms of mental health and just overall stress in their life, need additional help, need additional programs to help improve their quality of life. Not just for their health and well-being, but also for those who are managing the costs related to employee insurance. Those that are self-insured, those employers that have self-insured scenarios are looking to reduce costs, and ReShape Care helps drive that. We have data and tremendous outcomes with people that enroll in ReShape Care, and it's getting a lot of attention, as I said, with those self-insured employers. In the middle of the slide is Lap-Band. That is our flagship product. Lap-Band's been around for 20 years. Over 1 million individuals have received Lap-Band, and it fits right within the care continuum. When you look at prescription drugs as the earliest care continuum choice for physicians and patients, and then the extreme is a more aggressive surgery like a gastric sleeve or a gastric bypass, the Lap-Band is closer to prescription drugs in that it's less invasive, fully reversible, adjustable based on the patient's tolerance, and it's also not anatomy changing. So we don't cut out the stomach or reroute the plumbing, so to speak. FDA approved and broadly reimbursed across the U.S. I'll speak more about the evolution of Lap-Band and how it works, as well as the next generation that's soon to come. And lastly, we have calibration tubes, and it's another product that works outside of Lap-Band surgeries to help surgeons who are working to do gastric sleeves, the primary surgery done in the U.S., as well as the bypass. So we have other products in portfolio just to make sure we're helping surgeons as they navigate across the care continuum. So the Lap-Band, I like to explain it as a device. If you think of a 5 or 6 lane highway, and you're then taking that highway and moving it to a 1 or 2 lane highway, and essentially what the Lap-Band does is attach at the esophageal stomach junction on the top of the stomach, and it has a port that runs off to your side underneath the skin, and the surgeon can inject fluid into this closed system to either expand or constrict that highway. And ultimately what happens is the patient receiving a Lap-Band has to eat less food, has to chew more, and ultimately their feeling of satiety comes sooner with less food, and they ultimately eat less over a period of time and lose weight. As I mentioned before, it's done laparoscopically, less invasively. There's no stapling of the stomach. There's no issues with adjusting the lap band based on patient tolerance. And there's also the chance to fully reverse this procedure and take the lap band out. So this shows the care continuum that I referenced earlier, where on the left-hand side you have the self-managed care, and on the far right you have the most invasive procedures that are done today by bariatric surgeons. And ReShape Care and the ReShape Marketplace. And the Marketplace, I hadn't mentioned previously, contains supplements and other things needed to support a weight loss journey. For example, a digital scale that measures your weight and works with your cell phone and other devices. So ReShape Care spans that portfolio. And then as we move towards the more physician-led approaches where you get more aggressive with weight loss and terms of aggressive, you also get more effective weight loss. The lap band fits as the first surgical step for patients to take, the most least invasive approach to your first surgery. So part of how this all comes together, I get asked the question, well, how do you get people interested in lap band? And unlike the gastric sleeve or bypass, the companies who support those products and services don't have to market the patients. So we spend time and care making sure that we use our marketing efforts to nurture leads, nurture individuals, and bring them through their journey. And the first step of their journey may be as simple as introducing them to ReShape Care. But ultimately, if they're looking for more support and they want to seek out surgery, we then can transfer them to a healthcare professional that can decide whether or not lap band is the right procedure for them, and then proceed with that intervention. A couple of scenarios to play or run by you. The first one is, Angie, who's pre-surgery, a lifelong weight loss journey, really been through a lot of things in her life, and she needs to spend more time with her kids. She's looking for a better balance. She wants more joy in her life, and that's someone that we will be able to take right from her first interaction with us and get her to a physician by way of our marketing programs. The second person is Brenda. Again, post surgery, she needs additional support because, like Fiona that I mentioned, she was actually alone and felt alone after her surgery. And they need a group. They need some help. They need healthcare coaches. They need other people who've been through surgery. And social media has a lot of large groups and influencers that really tied to a broad range of individuals that have gone through these surgeries and these interventions. And like any other disease that you think of relative to obesity, that people need to have a feeling of being supported. And ReShape Care helps do that post-operatively as well. So the marketing automation, we spent a lot of time. Marketing has become my wheelhouse in my career, starting off as an engineer, but moving quickly into the marketing side, and then general management and other leadership responsibilities. But we pivoted very hard when it came on board to move away from the cost prohibitive marketing of television and print advertising, and moved strictly to digital advertising. And the social media and other means of getting leads interested in what lap band is and hopefully seeking help for themselves is working quite well for us. And not only has it helped us reduce our costs per lead, or more importantly, lead cost per surgery, it's helped us essentially affect more people and help us achieve our mission more effectively. So the one delight I have in coming on board, there's several delights, but I say the highlight of coming on board to ReShape was the surprise I had when I learned about some of the things in our R&D department that are yet to come to the market. The first one is our lap band 2.0. As I mentioned to you earlier, the lap band works by way of restricting the amount of food that someone can eat. And frankly, if you think of prescription medications and any intervention with individuals who are obese, they all do the same thing. They all restrict what people eat, and that's whether it's tolerated by smaller bites of food or different types of food. It is really about restricting your diet. Well, the lap band 2.0 was developed because sometimes when someone cheats and they're not adherent to the wishes of their healthcare professionals, and they try to swallow a half a bagel or do something that's just not conducive to the use of a lap band, or when the lap band is in place, they will have severe discomfort, and they'll know right away that they've taken on too much food, or didn't chew enough, whatever the case. So the lap band 2.0 is designed to relieve that by having reservoirs that expand, go from that 2-lane highway to a 3 or 4-lane temporarily, as I bring back that analogy, and allow that piece of food to pass and allow that discomfort to resolve more quickly. So very excited about that. We've submitted to I'm sorry, we are about to submit to the FDA, the PMA supplement, and we'll look for having news on that in the near future. The middle product is our diabetes block stim neuromodulation device. This is something that is equally as exciting as the 2.0. It's much, much further away from commercialization. It actually has been used in pigs, and ultimately what we can do with this device, I'll explain in the next slide, is we have a way of potentially alleviating the need to take type 2 diabetic medications. And I'll explain how this works on the next slide. The ReShape Obalon is a gastric balloon that's implanted endoscopically. Exciting technology. Right now, it's not available for commercial sale, but it is FDA approved. We are looking for, and I've said this publicly before, we're looking for a manufacturing partner to manufacture this in a cost-effective way to bring into the markets in the U.S. and abroad. The question from investors that I get sometimes is, where does a gastric balloon fit when you've got prescription drugs now and you've got all these other surgeries available? The reality is that any treatment in medicine, and certainly any disease, is very personalized, and some people won't tolerate the medications, and several can't take them because of their current state, whether women in childbearing years, or someone who can't tolerate those medications. And similarly with surgery, some people can't tolerate the more aggressive surgeries. You don't want to be performing something that's very invasive on someone who's young. The Obalon balloon and other balloons on the market are really designed to be temporary, whether it's 4 to 6 to 12 months, allows someone to essentially have one procedure done and have that weight loss occur fairly rapidly. But I've heard it being used to get ready for weddings, or to have a better chance of starting the weight loss journey and then proceed with other treatments, combination therapies, if you will, as you continue the journey. So this next slide is a bit noisy, but it's speaking to this DBSN device technology, and what we are able to do with neuromodulation. And for those of you who aren't familiar with neuromodulation, essentially it's like a pacemaker that is connected to primarily the vagal nerve, and there's treatments that are approved for seizures, epilepsy, for example, and Parkinson's and other things that essentially affect the vagal nerve, which is a superhighway in terms of nerves in the body. What we're able to do with our block stim device is to stimulate the pancreas with a electronic pulse, as well as block the liver off the vagal nerve. And what that does is essentially put back in balance what gets out of balance when you become a type 2 diabetic. So what's shown in the orange lines is essentially in these pigs I referenced, where you spike essentially the pig with sugar, as you would if you were eating your Snickers bar, and that's where your pancreas sort of goes on hyperdrive, and your liver secretes glucose, and ultimately you get out of balance. Insulin resistance and everything else that happens as a diabetic is just not healthy. It's an inflammation state. What the purple lines represent below is the same pigs with the device active. So we're monitoring and we're governing the pancreas, and same with the liver. Ultimately resolving the diabetic state. So very excited about this. Researchers are very excited about it. We actually have a large strategic corporate, hopefully partner, that is very excited as well. You don't get to to these devices or I guess have this portfolio of product developments without being very careful in protecting what you develop. And again, from an engineering background, I'm very bullish about protecting the patents that will put roadblocks or blockades for anyone else who wants to follow us. I will do as much as I need to invest to make sure that we protect the rights intellectual property. And that means not only being defensive with submitting patent applications, but also being offensive. And on the offensive front, we mentioned that we did file a complaint with Allurion for our Obalon balloon patent portfolio, and more news yet to come as that unfolds. And then lastly, so the money slide for us is that we're a very strong company in terms of no debts, cash position of 9.1 as of March 31st. And I'll go back to what I said about growth pillar number one. My commitment and our leadership team's commitment is to ensure that every dollar we spend goes to growth drivers and has a return on that investment. We've done a tremendous amount to make adjustments in our spend to reduce our overall spend Q1 of 23, 43% compared to Q1 of 22. Primarily that came from marketing, but it's other areas of the company as well. As we achieve or exceed our revenue targets, we'll look to take that additional growth and reinvest back into those growth drivers to continue that cycle. So very, very comfortable with where we sit from a financial standpoint, looking to invest in growth drivers as we continue the journey. And I think that's it. Other than Deborah here, close with her. Deborah, again, just another weight loss patient who has been reshaped since 2013, so longer follow-up than Fiona. But again, tremendous stories with individuals like her that make what I do all the more worthwhile. So with that, I think I will pause for questions. If you haven't submitted a question yet, we do allow for questions, and I will take a look at those right now.
Sure. So, well, we do have a few questions, and we'll get to as many of them as we can in the time remaining. If we don't get to your questions, you can schedule a one-on-one meeting with us through the conference website. You can also contact us through our investor relations website that we have as part of, and you can also contact us through this contact information here.
Yep, got a few good questions. Let me try to, I think we have 7 minutes left. Let me try to rifle through those. First one, how is your lap band business impacted by the availability of new weight loss drugs? Great question. Get that question all the time. We're watching that very closely, and I'm gonna start speaking fast because I want to get through these questions. Yeah. The issue is the short term. The question is short term, what happens? Medium, long term, what happens? And short term, we've asked our physicians, our surgeons, if it's impacted their surgery schedule. The answer is it hasn't. We're seeing now, though, sort of middle term, within 6 months of these drugs being introduced, that it's starting to delay people seeking out surgery, which you'd expect. You'd expect people to go and try these drugs. We know that the payers are working most likely working very diligently with Big Pharma to try to negotiate these weight loss drugs because they probably see an advantage to having people get off the sidelines. What I didn't say in the market slide that I showed is that only 1% of those who are obese who need to have surgery based on recommendations from not only the American Pediatric Association, but also as you look at all through your lifespan, is that only 1% seek out surgery, 1%. So these drugs, in my mind, are doing us a huge favor with the big pharma marketing dollars, everything else, are driving more people off the sideline and seeking out help. Once they get essentially a taste of weight loss and they see the health benefits of just losing a modest amount of weight, how you can reverse a lot of things that have happened to your physical well-being, they'll stay off the sidelines and seek out additional, more aggressive care as they need it. So again, it's a disease, it's lifelong disease, and it has to something has to be addressed along a continuum. I also think, last comment on this question, there's combination therapies that our physicians, specifically our scientific advisory board, are saying that we should consider looking at how does Lap-Band work with some of these weight loss drugs. So it's a nice combination therapy, both sort of a least invasive type, keeps people away from surgery, which you're scared of anyways. Second question, how long do patients typically have the Lap-Band installed? Great question. It literally is a lifelong device. You can keep this device in. People have had it in now 20 plus years. So other people will have it removed if they want to go more aggressive. I've one case I know of particularly that someone has had a Lap-Band and wanted to move more aggressively to a bypass. A lot of times with one person in the household having obesity, another person does, and sometimes there's one person gets a Lap-Band, one person gets a bypass, and then they compare notes, and you have it go both ways there, right? For us as a company, I go back to there's a tremendous market out there, and whether a person jumps into a Lap-Band or has another procedure, it's a win for ultimately for humankind, right? But we have plenty of patients who have Lap-Band installed for decades, if you will. Another question, are you able to grow your geographic footprint for the Lap-Band beyond the 15 countries? Yes. What we're doing now, we have an internal resource. I hired Nick Ansari later last year, a couple of weeks after I joined. He has a lot of experience internationally. Part of growing internationally is looking at how to reduce your cost of goods, and we're also doing that to make sure that when we sell internationally, we actually have some healthy margin, if you will, to reinvest in the rest of the growth drivers. Another question for us, what are your key milestones to the end of the year? Great question. I'm very aggressive with our leadership team looking at where does Lap-Band 2.0 fall into play in terms of its approval by the FDA. What happens then? How do we launch that into next year? Second key sort of growth driver for us is products. I'm continually looking for anything related to partnerships, so merger and acquisition or other things that may affect us, where we can take either adjacent segments or those within this market and use our internal core competencies to help drive growth. So again, key milestones for us is to finish the year strong, making sure we execute on our growth pillars, and part of that for us is some of the new products coming out of our R&D department, as well as other things we can bolt on to our portfolio. And what other questions do we have here? Yeah, here's one here. Apologies if already covered. What is the effectiveness of your Lap-Bands? I have a friend who hasn't lost any weight on Ozempic. So I think if you look at our results compared to weight loss drugs, we have slightly better weight loss in Ozempic. And again, our studies are over 20 years old with all demographics. So I feel sorry for your friend to try something like Ozempic and not have the weight loss. It's got to be discouraging. And my approach to that is always, seek your medical professional, guidance on what is the right therapy. And so it depends on the individual. Some individuals, as we've studied with Lap-Band, do much better with Lap-Band. As I mentioned, a younger soccer mom in my persona A is a great candidate for lap-band. As you look at other morbid obese and other people in that spectrum, probably not the best patient for lap-band, just because of the need to lose weight more quickly and to sustain that weight loss. So I think a medical professional is the best to help anybody who might have issues with prescription drugs. Part of the prescription drug discussion is it has to be with the bariatric surgeon who's an expert in their specialty for weight loss. We are closing now. I'd just like to say thank you all for listening in. Appreciate your support. Thank you, my board members, my scientific advisory board, our leadership team, and all the shareholders. We're committed to this mission and committed to bringing shareholder value